All right, everyone, welcome to our workshop today. We are so happy to have you here. We really appreciate you making the time to be here. And this will be co-hosted by Dr. Kwak and myself. We'll both do a quick little intro, and we wanted to keep it really simple. You can see our agenda here. We are going to be with you for 2 hours. We understand that you may stay that entire time, or you may be there for part of that time, maybe with us for part of that time. So whatever works for you is great. Let me just quickly let you know what we plan to do with that time. For our first portion of the workshop, we're going to share something with you called the self-coaching model. And we've learned this model, we've used this model with ourselves, we found it really helpful, and we just want to share it with you very briefly. And if you want more information about it, we can certainly direct you to fantastic resources. Dr. Kwak is with us today, and she will be sharing medical updates on the virus. She's been on top of it all and studying and researching and learning in her practice. And so she's been generous enough to join us today to share all of what she has learned and what we need to know. And so I'm incredibly grateful to her for being here. All of this, the first 2 points will all be in hour 1, and we'll be here with you that whole time. Hour 2, starting roughly around an hour from now. We know some people are on the East Coast and West Coast. I don't want to say times to confuse anybody, so I'll just say an hour from now, whatever it may be. And in an hour from now, we'll open it up roughly. You know, we really want to share our valuable content, so we may go a tiny bit over. Please be flexible with us. But roughly around an hour from now, we'll open it up for questions and for coaching. We are both certified coaches, life coaches, so we'll open it up for any live coaching. Everything will be recorded, so if you don't want to be coached in public, no problem. Of course, we understand, but we want to make that available because we know that there is great value in seeing people be coached and in sharing that with others who are experiencing the same challenges. So that's the plan. We'll be here for 2 hours. For the first hour, we are only going to take comments and questions in the share with everyone chat box. We've muted everyone because we'll be having roughly 100 people, maybe more. And so we want to minimize disruption. So we appreciate your understanding on that. And we will have lots more engagement in hour 2 if you can stick around for that. So let me do a quick introduction. Dr. Kwak and I met about 1.5 years ago in our life coach certification program with the Life Coach School. It's one of the most amazing things I've ever done. I learned so much. We were in a small cohort of 9 amazing women and our incredible teacher, Molly, for a long time, and we coached each other. We learned the coaching tools. We also had our weekly lessons and trainings, and so much work with our master coach instructor, Brooke Castillo, who's the founder of the Life Coach School. And we really got to know each other, support each other. Melissa and I and other group members in our cohort did lots of extra coaching one-on-one outside of class and really supported each other through the process. So Melissa and I have kept in touch. I want to say Dr. Kwak because I want to acknowledge the fact that she's a physician and none of the rest of us are, I'm guessing. And so she's got so much value to add from her experience and her knowledge and all that she's learning in the medical system right now in the midst of all of this. So, but I may slip and say Melissa because we're pretty good friends. So we met, 1.5 years ago. I was intimidated to know that there was a physician in our group. She laughs at me when I say that because I have great respect for the medical profession. I grew up with a mother who's a nurse, critical care nurse, and I have great respect and honor and admiration for all those who serve us in the medical profession and the way that they've dedicated their lives to that. So I am so grateful to her for being here, for sharing her knowledge with us. She's still out there in the trenches working full-time, serving her patients and her colleagues, and so she's taking her time to be here and join us today. She will be mostly covering the medical piece and also some of the mind work, but just know that everything that I cover around the self-coaching model, Dr. Kwak could also cover just as easily, just as well, probably better, but we split it up because she's the only one who can really share with credibility and expertise the medical piece. So we're gonna tag team and share on and off. We may chime in during each other's parts, and it's all very integrated. The mental health piece, the physical health piece, the medical, all of it is integrated. And we have spent a lot of time working together to prepare for it today. And I just am so happy to be here co-facilitating this with you, Dr. Kwak. And to introduce myself, for those of you who don't know me, I have a training, coaching, and retreat business. It's called Sampson Coaching and Consulting. We design and deliver a variety of forms of training for companies like Google, but also nonprofits and in education. I'm a life coach and executive coach, and love the work that I do. And we just bring this to you free as a gift. We're not selling anything. We just want to be of service and help ourselves and help others by putting positivity and education out there and supporting each other and coming together. So I will turn it over to you, Dr. Kwak, to share your introduction.
Hi, thanks, Bridget. And for the record, I was intimidated by Bridget as well. She's an author and a TEDx speaker and works with amazing companies, has been an amazing coach for decades. So anyway, we're in good hands with Bridget hosting this. Thank you. So and thanks for inviting me, Bridget. So my name is Dr. Melissa Kwak. I'm a full-time practicing family physician. And I do have to give a disclaimer today. I'm not your doctor today. Everything I say represents me and my opinions. I'm not speaking for my employer. Nothing I say represents my employer at all in any way. I love being a doctor, but I also am very fascinated by human psychology and just understanding this wild ride of a life experience we all get to have as humans on this planet. And that's kind of how I journeyed a little bit into life coaching too. It's just another way of approaching that and the human experience. So I would ask that all of you try to not be distracted today. Try not to multitask. Shut everything else off if you can. Get out pen and paper. Take some notes. Would love for you to commit to even taking away one thing from this workshop today that you can implement and employ going forward from today. So I just want to reassure all of you that we're all in new times, in unprecedented territory in our lives. You might be having some human emotions and experiences you've not had before, or are more intense than you've had before, and that's totally normal. You're totally human. It's all good. So a common emotion I'm seeing people experience now is just feeling very much out of control, along with all the other ones, of course, but a lot of people are feeling at least a little bit out of control. And our hope today is that you'll leave today with a better understanding of why you're having the experience you're having right now, and have some tools to help you manage your current feelings, but also to help you feel more in control of your life experience right now. So you'll be able to deliberately and intentionally create a meaningful and valuable life experience for yourself right now, even in these uncertain times, and whatever that looks like for you. So Bridget's going to get started right now. I'm going to give her back to you on teaching this self-coaching model. So this is a model really for gaining awareness of your current life experience and helping take ownership for our current life experience. So I'll give it over to her, but please type in any questions you have as she's speaking into the chat. And if it's applicable, if it makes sense to do so, we'll ask Bridget as she's going. So go ahead, Bridget.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kwak. Thank you. Excellent points and introductions and reminders. And we just want to make sure that you are ready to take away some skills and some tools that you can actually put into practice at the end of this session. So please, make sure to write down so that you can come back to anything that resonates for you and that you can use as we share today. So I just want to say, I forgot one thing in my introduction. I have to go back and say that I am a retired lecturer in communication studies at Cal State Northridge, because I know some of my California State University Northridge people are out there. I taught at the university for 28 years and recently retired, and I'm so proud of that in the communication studies department. So thank you for being here if you're part of the CSUN community. And I don't know how I could have left that out. Just 28 years I forgot there for a second, but that's okay. So thank you for being here, all of you from all different walks of both of our lives. We welcome you and appreciate you so much for being here. So I want to share the self-coaching model. And it's going to be a brief introduction and a couple of words of introduction to it before we actually get to it, which is that, you know, Dr. Kwak and I have been working with this model for probably 2 years or so, and we're still learning about it. And when we talk about it, we still figure out new twists and turns to it and ways to apply it and ways to play with it and use it. So we're giving you a brief introduction, and we hope that we can make it easy to understand and simple, and make it feel like something really positive and affirming and a tool that you can use. But if you want more on it, please know that there's a lot more out there, and we're happy to share that with you. Okay. So it is about a little bit about understanding what's going on in your brain and your mind, and how we can be more aware of that and take a little bit more, or have a little bit more ownership of what's going on with our mind and our feelings and our experience right now. But I really want to preface this by saying we are not in any way suggesting that there's anything wrong with, or that we should resist in any way having negative feeling and emotion, because it's totally understandable. And Dr. Kwak mentioned that there's a range of emotions we're all experiencing. We want to be in a place of self-compassion, compassion for others, non-resistance, and just love and appreciation and acceptance for all of the human experience that's happening right now. So I just want to say that the self-coaching tool is a simple model that we can use to understand what's going on in our minds and with our emotions and our feelings. And it's not in any way ever to be used to judge anyone, or to make anyone, you or anyone else, feel that you're doing it wrong, that you're doing anything wrong, because you're doing it all right. We just want to offer it to you in case it's helpful, in case it provides comfort, support, and in case you can use it as a tool to support yourself, to help yourself, and to lessen the additional suffering. It's really about lessening additional suffering. You know, suffering is part of the experience. Difficulty is part of the experience of life. And sometimes that's just something we need to go through and accept and love. And sometimes there are ways that we can lessen that for ourselves. So you have to decide that for yourself. And I will say personally that this self-coaching model has helped me in every area of my life, in every relationship, with my health, with my well-being, and using it as a coach has been incredibly transformative for the people I'm working with. And that's true for all of our fellow coaches in this program. And again, if you want more on it, I highly recommend the Life Coach School podcast. It's entirely free. There's nothing we're selling today. So let's start with the self-coaching model. This is a self-coaching model. This is it. 5 things, 5 parts, and I'm going to define each of those parts for you. The first part, we call it CTFAR. It's not an acronym because it works just the way it is, but it's really easy to think of CTFAR. The C is a circumstance. A circumstance must be 100% fact. So that means it's provable in experiment over and over again. 100% of people agree. If even one person disagrees, a reasonable person disagrees, it's not a circumstance, right? So a fact right now, we pretty much all agree, right, that there is such a thing as the coronavirus, right? That's a fact. Or I am here right now delivering this workshop. I mean, facts are pretty much 100% of the people would agree that it's happening, right? So these facts in the world then cause us to have thoughts about them. We have all kinds of thoughts. You may believe this or not, but some experts say we may have as many as 60,000 thoughts a day. So you all know, you're all human beings, that we're all having lots and lots of thoughts every day, right? And our thoughts are triggered by these circumstances out in the world. This next part is probably the most important part of what we're sharing on this today, on this piece. Our thoughts cause our feelings. The circumstances, the facts, the realities of the world are not what cause our feelings. Our thoughts cause our feelings, okay? So a thought is simply a sentence in my mind. I might choose to think this workshop is going great, or I might choose to think, oh no, I don't know if this workshop is going well. I'm afraid this workshop is not going well, right? I have a multitude of thoughts that are available to me right now. I can pick from any of them, but my thoughts are what are going to create my feelings. Now, that's not to say that thoughts are always conscious. Thoughts are often in the subconscious, but they're still very powerful, right? So the thoughts cause the feelings. A feeling is simply a sensation in our body caused by a thought. You all know what feelings are. You may feel sad, you may feel angry, you may feel happy. The list of feelings can go on and on and on. It's a sensation in our body, right, that's caused by the thought. So whatever I'm thinking is what's causing me to feel a certain way. Then when I feel a certain way, that will lead me to take certain actions. So if I'm feeling sad because I'm thinking sad thoughts, I'm likely to take certain actions based on those feelings. If I'm feeling happy, then I'm likely to take different actions. This is not to say, I have to keep having this disclaimer that we want to always choose to be happy. That's not what we're saying here. Or that we want to always choose thoughts that make us feel happy. We're just talking about cause and effect here, really. We're just talking about awareness of what's happening. Just being aware that this is how it works. This is what's going on in our minds and our bodies and our emotions as we're experiencing the world as human beings. There's no judgment in it. There's nothing we're telling you to do. We're just saying, let's be aware of this, right? So the action is what you do or don't do. Inaction is often an action, right? So if I'm feeling super overwhelmed and stressed out, my action might be doing nothing, laying on the couch and not doing any work or anything productive. And that's inaction, could be in the action line. The final item in the self-coaching model is the result. So that's the end result of this cycle. So whatever you were thinking caused feelings, which led to actions, which caused a certain result or outcome in the situation. And that's how that's a really simple introduction to the self-coaching model. As I said, there's so much more to it, but it's these 5 parts. It's CTFAR. It's an incredibly empowering tool to just be aware of what we're creating in our lives through our thoughts, through our feelings, through our actions. What is happening here? No judgment, no attachment to doing it a certain way, no belief that one way of doing it is the right way or another way is the wrong way, just awareness. And we're hoping a little ownership and recognition that, yes, this is true. This is what's happening with no judgment, total self-compassion. So Dr. Kwak, would you add anything to that? You know this model inside and out, as both of us being certified coaches. What, anything I left out or you would add?
Great, keep going.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Okay. Good. One last thing I want to say, and this really is just a transparent plug to legitimize this, is that some of you may be familiar with cognitive behavioral therapy. I want to point out that these two tools or approaches are totally aligned. There is no contradiction or conflict between cognitive behavioral therapy and the self-coaching model. They really say essentially the same thing. We believe the self-coaching model is a really helpful tool because you can write out your model. You can fill in all the points to see what's happening and what you're creating and what's going on for you. Cognitive behavioral therapy, probably, I don't know a whole lot about it. What I've seen, I love. It's incredible and empowering as well. And there are probably amazing tools there to use to write everything out. But it was just fascinating to me that when you look into it, even at the most basic level, it's saying the same exact thing, right? So this is just a little graphic I found when I Googled it about cognitive behavioral therapy teaches that our thoughts create our feelings drive our behavior or create our behavior, and then our behavior reinforces our thoughts. And it's this loop. So the other part of the self-coaching model is, of course, that the results provide evidence to keep thinking the same thoughts. Okay, now moving on to a quick example. Here we go. So the coronavirus, now we could debate that whether or not this is a circumstance or a fact, but probably most of the people in the workshop today and most of the people in the world today, not all, but we'll use it anyway because it's a clear example. The coronavirus exists in the world, right? And a thought that one person might be having, whether they don't realize, whether it's at the subconscious, they don't realize they're having it. And by the way, we have a lot of thoughts in our subconscious that when we get coaching or when we sit and do analysis or we journal or we write, we can pull those thoughts out from the subconscious and become aware of them, right? So either way, a thought someone might be having might be, this is so scary. think about. Can any of you relate? This is so scary. This is awful. This is catastrophic, right? CBT might call it catastrophic thinking, or catastrophic thought traps, thinking traps, right? So in the model, we just say, this is your thought, no judgment of it, just be aware of it. Just know that this is what you're thinking, right? That thought might cause the feeling of being really scared. We're using the same language in here to keep it really simple, since this is a brief introduction. The action might be because you're so scared and you're thinking this is so scary over and over, the actions might be watching news, scrolling Facebook or in other social media sources, talking to other people who are scared about how scared you all are, right? So the actions might be to kind of keep reinforcing that fear and exposing yourself to information. Again, whether you're consciously choosing to or not, that feeling of being scared might drive you to that action. We're not saying any of this is absolute. This is one example of a hypothetical possible model, right? And the result, you remain scared. You're possibly even more scared as a result, which reinforces your thought to keep having the thought, this is so scary, this is so scary. So this is our example. Again, no judgment. We are not saying don't think this way. We just want you to be aware of what's being created here, right? So let's look at another example of what someone else might be thinking. Same circumstance. The coronavirus exists in the world. Someone else might be having the thought, I can be of service to people. Then they might feel empowered. And by the way, one human being could be having both of those thoughts simultaneously. We don't have to choose, I'm only going to think positive, or I'm only going to think negative, or I'm only going to think this thought. All of these can live and exist side by side. You can be thinking, I'm scared, and also shift. You're probably not thinking them at the exact same time, but you can shift then if you want to. You don't have to, but if you want to, well, I can be of service to people. And then that generates a feeling of empowerment, which might lead to the action of assisting people who can benefit from your help, which might lead to the result that you've been helpful to yourself or to others, or both. And then again, that result provides evidence for the thought. And because that result provides evidence, you're more likely to keep thinking that thought. A really important definition here is that a belief is simply a thought we keep thinking over and over. So when you keep thinking the same thought, it eventually becomes a belief. Not only that, it becomes hardwired into our brains. It becomes a neural pathway to keep thinking a certain thought. We believe it, and it becomes a neural pathway. And our brains, we know, especially our reptilian brains, are looking always for danger and things to fear and things to watch out for. So these become wired into the brain as part of our neurobiology's very wise and lovely desire to keep us safe. So we don't want to turn all this off or negate it or feel bad about it. We just want to be aware of what's happening, right? So that we know, and so that we can take a little responsibility for it and maybe start thinking about where we can make choices, and that may not always be the case. Okay. So that is the self-coaching model in a nutshell. It's a super brief introduction to it. We hope that it's helpful to you. We hope you can use it. If you want more on it after this, you can immediately go to the Life Coach School podcast, listen to episode 1. It's all about the self-coaching model by Brooke Castillo. Lots of examples of it. And in fact, she's got over 300 episodes. We've listened to all of them, all about this model, and a lot more, way more than the model, but lots and lots of application of the model, and it's free. And so you can get so much more there. And we just want to offer it to you because it's helping so many people right now to just develop this awareness. And it's really serving people in the world to use this model to see what's going on in their minds and with their emotions. So I think I've covered everything that we plan to cover for this brief introduction to the self-coaching model. I am going to turn it over to Dr. Kwak to start moving into the medical piece or anything that I've left out on the self-coaching model, which again, making sure to give credit, comes from Brooke Castillo, founder of the Life Coach School. And Brooke Castillo very openly says she did not make this up herself. She's got her degree in psychology. She's studied countless teachers. You will find many, many psychologists, psychiatrists, doctors, people in all fields who have similar models, who teach the same thing. I have quotes from Eckhart Tolle and Jill Bolte Taylor and Byron Katie and all the spiritual, psychological, medical people out there who say the same exact thing about how our thoughts create our feelings, which drive our actions. And what Brooke did is she took it and she put it into this model, which we can use to coach people very easily and simply, and people are just finding it a huge game changer. So that's where it comes from. We wanted to share it with you. You can get lots more on it. And I will turn it over to Dr. Kwak because she's going to give you a lot of C's. We just use the letters to make it easy. So we will be talking about CTFAR. You can still see on the screen what those stand for. But she's going to give you a lot of C's because she's a doctor and she knows these things. And she's working in the medical field right now in the midst of all this. So what it's up to us to do is to notice how those C's trigger our T's and our F's and our A's and our R's and what's happening there, and just be curious about it and not judgmental about it and think about what we want to do with that. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Dr. Kwak.
Okay, thanks, Bridget. Okay, so we'll start just talking about what this is that's happening right now. So coronavirus disease 2019, we've given it the name COVID-19. What it is it's a respiratory illness that's caused by a newly identified coronavirus. So there are many types of coronaviruses that have existed for a long, long, long time. And most of these types of coronaviruses are very common and circulate regularly, and they cause symptoms that are what we refer to as the common cold. That's usually what the coronaviruses cause. There are a few known types of coronaviruses that are known to cause more serious infections, if you remember the SARS and the MERS outbreaks previously. So COVID-19 is just the most recently identified type of coronavirus that can cause a more serious infection. So this COVID-19 is brand new. It was not known to exist prior to its outbreak in Wuhan, China. So what are the symptoms of COVID-19? So the most common symptoms are fever, fatigue, and cough, plus or minus shortness of breath. Less commonly, you get nasal congestion, runny nose, sore throat, body aches, decreased appetite, nausea, diarrhea, and headache. The majority of people infected with COVID-19 will experience mild to moderate cold or flu-like symptoms. It turns out many people can even be infected with COVID-19 and be asymptomatic. Asymptomatic means having no symptoms. So how is COVID-19 spread? It's primarily spread via respiratory droplets after being within 6 feet of someone who has coughed or sneezed that is infected with the virus. So if someone has the virus and they cough or sneeze into their hand and they touch your hand prior to them having washed or sanitized their hand, then your hand can then carry the virus. And then you can infect yourself or other people with that virus from your hand if you then touch someone else before washing or sanitizing your hand, or if you touch your mouth, your face, your eyes prior to sanitizing your hand. Touching a contaminated surface can also cause the illness. We're not positive on how long the virus can live on surfaces. There's been reports of anywhere from a couple hours to possibly up to a few days. So it's important to be disinfecting our surfaces. That's where that recommendation comes from. So it turns out those without any symptoms can also spread the infection, although people who do have symptoms of it are presumably more contagious than those without symptoms. People who do go on to develop symptoms of COVID-19 are actually contagious for 2 to 3 days before their symptoms even appear. Children are thought to be more likely to be asymptomatic spreaders of the infection. And if you've been exposed to someone with COVID-19, it can take 2 to 14 days for you to exhibit symptoms of the infection. So how serious is it? The bottom line is we're really not sure. This is brand new. brand new virus. Data is continuously being gathered and analyzed and updated continuously. So we don't know in the end how we're going to judge this, is how serious it's been in terms of, I suppose, mortality and the effects to our health. But we all agree in the healthcare field that we should be taking it very seriously. As of right now, it appears that the mortality rate is somewhere in the 6 to 40 times higher than the flu in terms of mortality rate. So the flu has a mortality rate of around 0.1%. COVID-19 is probably going to fall somewhere in the 0.6% to the 4% range. Though it's still too soon even to tell that. A lot of the experts, though, are optimistic that it's going to fall on the lower end as we test more and more people and figure out that more and more people are positive than we even think. Positive meaning that they have or had the infection, but perhaps didn't even know or had such mild symptoms they didn't think twice of it. So as more testing comes out, then the pool of positives becomes larger, and then we expect the mortality rate to fall. But as of now, estimating somewhere 0.6 to 4% range. Those over the age of 60 and or people with underlying health conditions are more likely to have a more severe case. Now, COVID-19 is thought to be much more contagious than the flu. So for the flu, for every person that gets the flu, they will on average infect one other person with the flu. COVID-19, however, for every person that gets it, about 2 to 3 people will get infected from one person. So you can imagine that type of infection can spread much more quickly. So why are we all being told to stay home? Why are businesses closing? Like, why are we taking these, what we're calling extreme measures? Because the fact is, most people will survive coronavirus just fine with a minor illness. The individual risk for each individual person is overall very low. But because the infection is so contagious, it can spread really quickly and infect a large percentage of the population in one big wave. The problem with that is it can result in flooding of the healthcare system. So this can result in there not being enough hospital beds and medical equipment to care for the sickest of us who do need it. It can also result in healthcare providers running out of personal protective gear, making those on the front lines even more vulnerable. And that can then result in increased infections among the healthcare workers, depleting the number of healthcare workers available to care for those who need it. So if all of that happens, the mortality rate would be expected to be on the higher end of those predictions. So this leads to that flattening of the curve meme that I imagine most or all of you have seen. So the objective of flattening the curve is to slow the spread of COVID-19 to avoid flooding the healthcare system and to effectively save lives. So to do our part in flattening the curve, these recommendations have quickly been changing and evolving, as you see, but essentially, we really should be staying out of public areas completely, except for absolute essential needs, and going to work if you must go to work. Recommending working from home if at all possible. If you do go out into public areas, try to keep your 6 feet distance from other people. Bring hand sanitizer with you, and be sure to use it before you touch yourself or anyone else if you've touched any other surface out in public that you don't know the disinfectant status of. So testing is still not readily available in our country. In my practice, we don't have access to testing. So for most people, because we know the symptoms will be mild and you'll recover just fine in your home, we're recommending most people who call with mild to moderate symptoms, just stay home. Having said that, of course, if you're experiencing any health symptoms that concern you, please call your doctor. So those are some of the basic facts as we know it right now. Are there any, Bridget, did you see any questions pop in that make sense to answer right now?
Let's see.
Many people experience the virus as a mild to moderate cold. Many presumably wouldn't have a fever, which is a prerequisite for testing and the main method of scanning for infection. Is my assumption about the lack of fever correct? Yeah, it is. You're absolutely right. There's going to be a lot of people who don't have a fever who've been infected, and even people who have no symptoms at all who have been infected. So in this country, in most areas in this country, there are still prerequisites that the health departments are requiring in order to get a test done, and a fever is one of those. Unless you're sick enough to be hospitalized, even if you don't have a fever, I believe they are testing. So go ahead.
Another question was, is there a particular type of cough to watch out for?
So they're more commonly seen a dry cough, but it sounds like it could be a cough of any variety with COVID, but dry cough is more common.
I think we had one more question. Let's see here. Can you test positive for influenza B and also have coronavirus?
Yeah, you can, and there have been reports of that.
Okay. As an alternative to the hand sanitizer, is spraying with a straight alcohol spray as effective, or does it dry too fast to be effective?
You know what? That's a great question. I haven't looked at the current data on that, but we have website links at the bottom, at the end. The CDC or the World Health Organization has a good fact sheet for such questions, and it's evolving as well. So it'll be a good reference to check, perhaps even daily, to stay on top of it.
Okay, great.
Bridget, there are also questions coming in on the general chat.
Okay, I'm seeing questions. I'm going to go with the questions I see. And Leslie, you can chime in with a question too, since we're keeping everyone muted since we have so many people in the workshop. But Dr. Kwak, this is the question I had for you last night, and I know a lot of people have it, and this is changing day by day. So the answer we get today may change tonight. We don't know, but people are asking about if it's okay to have a small group of people at their home or get together with a small group of people just at this point. What would your take on that be, Dr. Kwak?
I hate to be the naysayer here, but if you can't be 6 feet apart and not sharing surfaces, I wouldn't get together. So I'm discouraging home gatherings. Now, I think going outside for a walk where you're 6 feet apart and you're not in contact with similar surfaces, I think that is reasonable to do at this point from what I've seen and read.
Okay. Now, I think this is really important. There are people out there saying that taking high doses of vitamin C will prevent the virus. My guess is that is not true. I would love to hear your take on that.
Not true.
Thank you. It's fine if you want to all take vitamin C. It's not going to hurt you. Well, I think high doses can hurt you. It's fine, but please do not be out there making people believe that that's going to prevent them from getting the virus and that they can then expose themselves. That's highly irresponsible to spread that information. That's my personal opinion.
So I find this question interesting. I like it. If the virus is spread through droplets, how can asymptomatic people pass the virus? Yeah, I think that's a good question. What makes sense to me is that we can still cough and sneeze even if we're not sick. You know, you get a piece of food stuck in the back of your throat, or feeling dry, or something tickles your nose. You can still cough or sneeze, and there's respiratory droplets in there.
After the typical 14-day period, will you then test negative for COVID, or can there still be residual positive testing?
Yeah, so currently, I know in China and here, I think they're starting to test people after their symptoms have resolved, and they are expecting the test to turn negative. Mm-hmm. So at least the way that they're testing for it now. So yeah, the current expectation is to have a negative test when you're cleared of the virus.
the experience of mild, moderate cold symptoms when it's really COVID-19, will symptoms last as long as a typical cold, or does it have a different time that it lasts, different length of time that it tends to last when
That's a
symptoms are mild?
yeah, great question that we don't have good answers to yet. I've seen doctors who are treating known positives say it can truly look just like a cold, like the exact same time frame you'd expect, everything. And then I've seen cases where the symptoms are mild to moderate, the worst of it's over in the time frame of a typical cold, but then a cough may linger longer, or a little like getting winded more easily with exertion may linger a little longer.
Okay. So some of these questions just aren't, we don't know yet. And, I appreciate Dr. Kwak is doing her best to, to tell you what we do know at this point. So I just a couple more, and then we're going to finish with our content, and then we'll take more questions for those who can stay an hour too. But one I'll put out there, I just coughed. I do not have it. I just had a little something in my throat. We're all nervous. So is there, this is an interesting one. A lot of people I've heard asking, is there data that show that this will become annual like the flu?
Great question. Again, we don't know yet, but we're expecting it to stick around. We're expecting that it will become something that will be needing to have treatments and preventions for. And vaccination studies and treatment studies are already underway. Another great question. There's not a treatment protocol that I have seen being used in our country yet, but there are experimental treatments that have been tried overseas that seem to be promising. So the treatments with some medicines that already exist to treat other conditions, some anti-malarials, some rheumatologic medications, HIV medications actually. So super promising that we're going to have some good treatment options probably soon in terms of having something promising to help with, for sure.
Yeah, so again, we're here for another hour and 10 minutes, so we'll open it up for questions. We want to share the rest of our recommendations just to be helpful in the next 10 minutes, and then we'll get back and open it up for questions again.
So I shared some of the facts that we have now, and like we said, those are changing and evolving. But I wanted to give you my perspective, or my T's on this, if you will. Give you lots of C's. So I want to offer and suggest that we shouldn't be surprised to find ourselves here. I want to invite you not to be surprised. Pandemics are a way of the world. They've always been, and they'll continue to be. And this is not unprecedented. Our ancestors have gone through similar things and much worse. And without toilet paper or running water or stock markets or electronics. And we humans are crazy resilient, and we're smart, and we're creative, and we're really made for this. And we've come from ancestors who have weathered these storms, and they've brought us to where we are today. So we're going to weather this too. And future generations are going to look at us to see how we've handled this and what we've learned from it, and to see what they can learn from it. Because the facts are that this is our reality right now. And we were never guaranteed a pandemic-free life from the day we were born. And that's okay, because we can do this, and we're going to do this. I would expect there to be more restrictions. I would expect this isolation to possibly continue for months. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea, but I want to invite you to just try accepting and even expecting it, that this is our life right now, and that these are our cards, and that that's okay, that we can move on from here, that it's okay to grieve the life that was different even 2 weeks ago. It's okay to grieve that loss. But now, what can we do to make the future generations proud, the people that are coming after us? How can we show up to this in a way that will make them proud? How can we show up to this in a way that's going to make ourselves proud? And of course, I think we can do this. I think we're all more than capable. I know we're all more than capable of doing that. the rate at which scientists and medical professionals are coming together right now and learning about this and studying it is like, it's truly remarkable. I can't believe the data that's coming out constantly and how quickly these smart people are figuring things out. Seeing the doctors and the healthcare providers on the front lines, and they're so strong and courageous, and they're working diligently to take amazing care of people. And there's just amazing things happening by and within human beings going on right now. And life's not always going to be this way. It won't. We're going to get back to closer to what we had 2 weeks ago. But for now, I just want to encourage and invite you guys to try to embrace it for what it is right now. We're taking extreme measures right now because we're buying time for these scientists and medical professionals to learn more about this. We're buying time for them to create treatments and vaccines so that life can go back to what it was just a couple weeks ago. But then again, life will probably never be like that again. I would guess, and that's okay. I mean, in my medical practice over the years, I've watched more and more people coming in with medical problems that we think are just from the craziness of our life, the stress and the hecticness of the life that we've had. I mean, how many of us have been running around like chickens with our heads cut off prior to this? And how many of us might this forced slowing down, this forced hibernation actually do us a little good? I just want to invite that possibility that could be an okay thing right now, to slow down. So I also want to invite us to use this time to not just weather the storm, but even to find a time to thrive in it. And by that, I just mean thriving in your own lane, in your own way, whatever that looks like for you. I mean, for some people, that might just be getting out of bed to face the day, and that's fantastic. For some, it might be having one panic attack instead of 10 in a day. And for some, maybe it's to learn a new hobby or a new language or new recipes during this time. If you're an employee, maybe becoming the most valuable employee you've ever been. If you're a boss or an employer, maybe becoming the most creative problem solver you've ever been, or the most generous and compassionate boss you can be. And if you're a parent at home with kids, maybe it's keeping your kids safe and loving on them. Or maybe it's just not killing each other during this quarantine. Maybe you'll become a rock star homeschooler. And if you're in a relationship, maybe it's rekindling the romance, or maybe it's just not killing each other too. Maybe all that is thriving, and that's great. So I just want to encourage you guys that we can do this. We're in this together. We're here for each other. And let's see how we can make the most of this where we are right now. So with that, I'm going to move on to a few specific coping strategies. So RAIN is an acronym to help process intense feelings when they come. So, because they're going to come, you know, as much as we want to be positive and empowered and optimistic and helpful in this, intense feelings are almost guaranteed to come. So when they come, ours recognize them. And I suggest, instead of saying I am anxious, switch it to I am feeling anxious. When we use I am phrases, that becomes very personal, and it becomes who we are. And if we can separate from that and I am feeling anxious, that allows a little more space for the feeling to be there and to not be to be encompassed and overwhelmed with the feeling. When the feeling comes, try to approach it from a curious and investigator standpoint. What does it feel like in your body? What do you feel compelled to do or avoid doing when the feeling is there? I think I just ran through all those, sorry. All at once. So we can move on to
Okay.
The next slide.
Good job.
Okay, so some more specific coping strategies. All right, so set boundaries for yourself. Endlessly and frantically researching and scrolling, it is not helpful. That tends to reward that primitive brain. The primitive brain is the part that's sending that alert signal, that fear signal that we're in danger, and we tend to respond in ways, a common one, to search and research and scroll. So set boundaries on yourself for doing that. The more you do it, the more you're going to reinforce that primitive brain, the more you're going to reinforce the fear signal and the fear cycle. So perhaps schedule blocks of time, whatever makes sense for you, 20 minutes a couple times a day, an hour once a day. But that's going to be your time to do your research. And I would also be deliberate about where you're going for your information. So often we just tend to blindly go down rabbit holes on the internet, and the next thing we know, we're just reading all kinds of other people's thoughts, people we don't even know, people we don't know what they know, we don't know if we trust them, but we're getting all of their thoughts in our head, and then it becomes even more of a jumbled mess up here, and it's harder to sort through what we want to think about it. So choose your sources, set boundaries for yourself, choose your time that you're going to spend on the internet and researching, and then start formulating what you want to think about all of it, not just what everyone else's thoughts are. So we want to give our brain direction, well, at any time in our lives, but especially in times like this, since our primitive brain is so amped up right now, and it's going to tend to run wild when left to its own devices. So a way to help direct our brain is to ask ourselves empowering questions to help us fill up that thought line of the model, right? So we have the circumstance, and we tend to just have those knee-jerk trigger thoughts to circumstances. So if we can get in the habit of asking ourselves questions, we will come up with thoughts that will be more helpful. So some helpful thoughts to ask ourselves might be, well, first you want to write down the circumstance that you're wanting to think about in a certain way, right? And then ask yourself, what is the most creative way I can think about this? What's the most empowering way I can think about this? What's the most loving and compassionate way I can think about this? And truly sit and let your brain come up with answers, and you'll get some more helpful thoughts to think about the circumstances that you're in. The next one, I would encourage you to plan your time, give yourself some structure and some expectations for your day. And I actually advise doing this 24 hours in advance to your day when at all possible, and committing to that schedule. So what that does is that also reinforces the more evolved prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain that is the most evolved that other animals don't have to the extent that we do, the part that can think and plan and solve problems. So by planning your day at least 24 hours in advance and committing to that schedule, you're actually reinforcing that part of the brain and down-regulating the primitive brain's fear response. The next one is try living from your future. So I love this one. So what does this mean? So envision yourself, pick a time frame, a year from now, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now. Envision the best version of yourself in that time frame. And who are you at that time? And then you can ask yourself, well, what advice would that future me have for me right now? You can ask yourself, what can I do today to make that future me proud? What can I do right now to make life easier and or better for that future me? Next one. So get back to the facts. So when in doubt, feeling strong emotions, uncertainty, overwhelm, you name it, just try to get yourself back to the facts, not your interpretation of them, not your story, not someone else's story. Just write down the facts of the circumstances you're in, and just sit with that for a bit, and then ask yourself, what do I want to think about this? And then the last part, connection. So connection is so important for humans. And during this time when we're doing more social distancing, of course, it's going to be tougher to create that. So my first thought on this is to just notice that we can block feelings of feeling connected by ruminating on unhelpful thoughts. So by ruminating on, I hate this isn't fair, I'm so alone, there's nothing to do, like ruminating on those sorts of things can block a feeling of connection that might otherwise be there. So just to be mindful of when you're doing such. But there are other things to do to create connection. And this is where you guys can get creative and have fun with it during a time like this. Set up a free Zoom account or use another video platform. And you can do so much on platforms like this. You can have book clubs. You can do wine tastings on a platform like this. You can host masterminds. You can share recipes. You can do coffee breaks together. If you have a loved one across the country, you guys can go on walks together, either with a video platform or just with your earbuds or whatever pods they're in, talking to each other. Consider writing snail mail letters to people, and consider writing love letters to the people you love in your life. Bridget mentioned this last night when we were talking, and I don't remember where you got the idea from, but just to write, think of the people you love and just put it on paper, send it or not, I don't know, but expressing love just feels good. And I think that's all I had for those.
Thank you, Melissa. Excellent. I think we were going to ask people what strategies they've found helpful. I'm wondering if we should do that after, when we get to the second hour. And
yeah,
we will come back, and I checked the chat really quickly, and people are sharing great suggestions and comments and saying that one person said, this is just like Zen Buddhism, and it's just like everything. Honestly, we hope that what we're saying fits with whatever your beliefs are, and that it is for all of us, for everyone. It has nothing to do with, it doesn't detract from any belief system you already have, and we hope it just provides additional support for you in your mental and emotional health and well-being and physical health and well-being. So in just a few minutes, we have one more slide we'd like to share with you, because some people may have to get off. They may have other meetings or kids that are waiting for them to do their homeschool lessons. So we wanted to keep hour one for those who just want to consume and kind of be here and take in what we're sharing, and then hour two for lots of interaction and optional coaching. So let's just go through our final slide, and then we'll be more than happy to take your comments and your questions and to offer coaching. We're both certified coaches. So we wanted to talk a little bit about thoughts to consider trying on. So in our program, we learned that we can try on thoughts just like we try on clothes. And sometimes we try on clothes and we like them, and sometimes we try on clothes and we say, oh, that's not for us. The same is true for thoughts. So we wanted to offer some thoughts that we've found helpful and that we've been hearing other people in our coaching program and in the communities that we're working to stay connected to, who are trying to be of service in this climate. And so we wanted to share a few and just see what you think. We're in this together. How do you feel about the thought, we're in this together? Does that work for you? Is that helpful to you? Does that generate feelings that you want to feel? Because remember, as you can see on the bottom of the slide there, our thoughts create our feelings lead to our behavior, and our behavior then reinforces our thoughts. So what do you think when you try on, we're in this together? My isolation is saving many lives. Clearly, we're all having negative thoughts about our isolation. I'm with you. I was supposed to be doing all this amazing travel for my consulting business, and I wanted to do that so I could have all these negative thoughts about being home and my isolation. But wow, to me, to try on the thought, my isolation is actually saving lives, feels really good. It makes me feel positive, and it makes me feel connected to all of humanity. And it's a thought I want to keep when I try it on. My words and actions can help many people. So I'm working to try on thoughts around where I can be of service. So I came up with the idea for this workshop, and Dr. Kwak was kind enough and willing to do the workshop with me. And so I'm really trying on the thought, what can I do to be of service? Oh, another example, just today I came up with the idea of starting a Facebook group called Pandemic Positivity, where you can only post positive things about everything that's going on. And I know it's not to say that there aren't places where we want to share negativity and get support for what we're challenged and struggling with, and I'm doing that as well. But this is one space. When someone wants only positivity, please go to my Facebook new group, Pandemic Positivity. So I'm just, we're all trying to think about how our words can support others, how our actions can support others. And that thought for me to try on makes me feel better. It makes me feel positive things. And again, we don't always feel positive. We don't have to always feel positive, but these are thoughts to try on. This is what we do in coaching. How does this thought feel? And with coaching, we are more likely to ask our clients, what thoughts do they have? What thoughts come to them that they'd like to try on? And really, we're trying it on to see if we can believe it, if it helps us to feel what we want to feel. And if it doesn't, we throw it out, totally fine. This is an opportunity, such an opportunity for self-discovery and growth. So many people are talking about what they're learning and how they're connecting and how they're growing in ways that they never thought they could. And so it could be a thought that you might want to try on. I'm feeling scared right now, and that's okay. Another whole realm of thoughts that we really encourage you to consider trying on is just acknowledging your feelings and not resisting them and not beating yourself up for them. We have found, I firmly believe that when we allow our feelings to be there, that they're able to pass through us. We can just feel them. We don't have to resist them, right? Wow, I'm feeling really scared right now. Let me love myself through that. Let me accept that that's how I'm feeling. Let me say that that's okay. As opposed to thinking, I shouldn't be thinking this. I should be thinking positively, right? I should be thinking we're all in this together. We're not suggesting that you should not allow and accept and love yourself through all of the negative thoughts and feelings. We believe you should, and that will help you to, I shouldn't say should, nothing is should, right? But we encourage you, right, to embrace the feelings. That's what Melissa's beautiful model of RAIN taught us. And how about this one? I can find love and compassion for everyone. You know, there's a lot of blame and shame, and this person shouldn't have done this and we should have done that. And there may be plenty of evidence for that. We're not suggesting that you don't believe that or think that. And at the same time, we're also wondering if we can find love and compassion, dig deep for everyone in this situation. It's challenging for everyone in different ways, and only not to condone or forgive, or it's not for anyone else at all. We all know this and have learned this, that forgiveness is not for the other person. It's for us, for we feel better. We're able to release the anger and the unhappiness, right? So these are thoughts to possibly try on and see if they're helpful to you. And if they're not, maybe try on other thoughts. Maybe talk with friends or a coach or someone else in your life about what you want to think, and thoughts that might be helpful and just serve you to be whoever it is that you want to be in this situation that we're in. So in a couple minutes, we'll ask for more thoughts on all of that. And so we just have a few resources to share. We know that you are all incredibly competent in navigating the internet and finding your local resources. The World Health Organization, of course, is going to be constantly updated, and the Center for Disease Control, federal government updates. Please check your state and local websites. Please check your county Department of Public Health. Things are changing by the moment. So it is important to stay informed and to really honor and take seriously the recommendations and the guidelines that we're being expected to follow during this time. So those are the resources we have so far. We know that lots more are being shared out there, and we encourage you to continue sharing those. The last thing we want to say is we highly encourage you to listen to the Life Coach School podcast. This is the life coaching certification that Dr. Kwak and I am both certified in, and that we went through together. The podcast episodes are free. There's nothing, we're not trying to get you to spend a penny. If you want to, there are other programs that you can look into through the Life Coach School, but right now, Brooke Castillo is being incredibly generous. She has done a daily podcast on helping us and supporting us and helping us to stay in a place of service and the best us that we can be through this pandemic. She normally has a weekly podcast that's fantastic, but she has made it daily over the last week, and it's all about the pandemic. So we encourage you to go there and listen to all the podcasts, and definitely listen to the last 7 episodes that have been this week. And that's something that we're following closely, to keep to keep generating as many thoughts as we can that help us to be of service to others and to help ourselves through this time. Would you add anything to all of that, Dr. Kwak?
I got nothing. It was great.
Okay. All right. So now we're a little bit over, but we're actually right on time because we started a little late as we were setting up the technology. So we're probably right at about an hour from where we started. And the idea at this point is to transition into answering your questions, looking at your comments. This is the time where you can share ideas that have been working really well for you. And then after we get through that for a little while, we are going to open it up. And if anybody wants to come on to the screen for coaching, for live coaching with 2 life coach certified life coaches. You are welcome to come on the screen. It is being recorded and it will be shared because we feel it will be valuable to people who are maybe struggling with the same challenges. And so I think we're both going to go into the chat and see what people are asking and saying. So I don't know if you can see the chat on the screen. Hopefully you can see, and hopefully everybody's sharing with everyone. Oh, drinking a lot of water as a way of watching down the virus is not true. Thank you for sharing that in the chat. I appreciate that. So drinking a lot of water is great, always, right? We want to be hydrated, but it's not going to prevent you from getting the virus. Do it anyway, just to be hydrated, okay? So let's see, what else do we have here? People are asking, I missed a lot of it. Yes, we are recording, and this will be available to all of you and to anyone you want to share it with. We're just going to take a little bit of time as quickly as we can to get it edited. So we're looking ways to serve our community by sharing food and masks and toilet paper. Yes, please create groups and programs and connections that help to provide resources in your communities, online, in the groups that you're part of. Is it true that we can check pulmonary function by holding breath for 10 seconds? And if our ability to do that decreases, we should contact a physician? Does that No.
No, I don't like that for many reasons, but it's not an accurate predictor of anything, and I think it'll just serve to increase anxiety.
Thank you, Dr. Kwak. Please listen to our medical professionals, everybody. There's some interesting ideas out there that are alternative, and I'm all for being open to alternative ideas, but please do not believe that they will prevent you from getting the virus.
What was the N? The N in rain, non-identification. So a bit of a separating yourself from it and remembering that it will pass, that you're not the emotion, and the emotion will pass.
Thank you. There was a question, will warm weather stem off the virus? Do we know anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, the short answer right now is we don't think so. They think this is going to continue through the summer and the fall right now, but again, the first time that we're seeing this, we're really not sure, but they've seen it still in warm climates, humid climates, dry climates. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I saw a question about will the slides, people want to share the slides. Everything will be available immediately. I will post, if you're my Facebook friend, I'll post everything there. I will make the slides available. The recording will be available after, as soon as we get it edited. Everything is available. You're welcome to share everything. Please do. I have a hip replacement.
First volunteer for coaching too.
Yeah, I saw that. I think I know who that is. It's CHERENS. So, okay, we'll get to you in just a couple minutes. We want to make sure we get people's questions, a lot of thank yous, and we're so welcome. We hope something was helpful for you. Forgot to ask earlier, a hip replacement schedule. Do you think elective surgery should be canceled, will be canceled, or will it be up to each provider?
Yeah, as of right now, that's up to individual healthcare systems. That my employer has canceled all elective surgeries for the foreseeable future, but that my understanding is that's healthcare system dependent or hospital dependent. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Good questions. I'm reading back. I think we've gotten to everything. Any new questions or suggestions? We also welcome new thoughts to try on, coping strategies, connecting strategies. If anybody wants to put anything in the chat that you want to share with everybody here. Someone's asking now, what are indicators to go to the hospital? Might be worth reiterating that here in case anyone wasn't there.
Okay. So yeah, I don't think I did touch on that specifically because I'm trying not to cross that boundary of like giving too much medical advice, but because if you have symptoms you're concerned about, I would, unless you're concerned they're life-threatening in the moment, which I know that's very subjective, but if you're having trouble breathing, and of course there's other, like the typical medical problems can still happen too, right? Like it's not like all of those shut down when coronavirus came. So, I mean, the usuals, the severe chest pains, the shortness of breath, the heart racing that won't stop after 15 minutes, passing out. It's like all of those are still our usual emergency room symptoms. But specifically for COVID, I would call unless you're concerned that you're struggling to breathe or respiratory distress, persistently short of breath, I would not show up in the emergency room. Try to call your doctor first to get advice and guidance on where they're sending people. Because even now, again, the guidelines are changing daily, but there's some people who are meeting criteria possibly for testing, but not needing to be hospitalized. And so they're being triaged to go one place, and other people, maybe we don't think they need to be hospitalized, but we're not sure how bad it is. They might be directed to an urgent care, but using your general doctor as the source, as the starting point is a great place to start before just showing up at a doctor's office or urgent care or emergency room. Again, unless you're concerned that your symptoms are truly very concerning in the moment, then of course you've got to make that subjective call and do what you have to do. But with COVID, it's usually shortness of breath. Sorry, that's usually it's usually a respiratory concern that would require a hospital stay.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you. And please, stay in touch with your medical professionals and stay in touch with the information that's available online to answer those questions. Are you the person who's volunteering to be coached? Is this you? I'm unmuting. Is that you? Tell us who you are.
Hi, Bridget. Hi, Dr. Kwak. I'm Adam Cherensky. I'm the director of the benefits program at the Alliance for Children's Rights in Los Angeles.
Right.
We're a nonprofit law firm that helps kids and families in foster care. And so I'm familiar with Bridget because she's done several workshops over the years at our office, and she's fantastic. And it's nice to see you, Dr. Kwak, for the first time. And this has been extremely helpful. I'm definitely going to be sharing it with everyone at the Alliance.
Thank you so much. And I'm so sorry I didn't recognize you at first. It's been a long time, but it's
been a while
to see you again. So
yes, likewise.
Tell us what you'd like coaching on.
Yeah, so, what I'm kind of struggling with right now is that, and I'm sure a lot of people are struggling with this, is I have multiple worlds that have all collapsed into one, right, in the past week. So I have my work world, and that's very much still ongoing. Our office is closed physically, but we're working remotely, and I supervise a team of 5, and I'm trying to do that remotely, right, and keep the work going and keep connecting with our clients, advocating on behalf of our clients. I also have a wife who is 7 months pregnant, and so she needs a lot of support, emotionally, logistically, etc. And I have a 4-year-old son with special needs, and he is not attending preschool right now. He is not getting all the services that he would normally be getting. We just did remote speech therapy for the first time today, which actually went pretty well, better than I thought. But, I also have to parent full-time, and support my wife full-time and keep my job going at the same time. And it's a lot, and it definitely has felt overwhelming at times during this week, and that's what I'm struggling with. And the thoughts about scheduling are really helpful, but at the same time, it seems like my schedule can just go to hell really quickly, right? Like I think, okay, I've blocked off this time for work, but then my wife needs me, and she needs, or my son needs help, and then I have to drop that and handle that kind of thing. So I was just interested in both of your thoughts as to how to best handle that type of situation, because I know it's not unique to me.
Dr. Kwak, do you want to ask a question or?
Yeah, lots of questions. I always do.
Yes, great questions. I want to hear your questions.
So, well, tell me first of all, what do you think you're struggling with right here? Like I heard that you're feeling overwhelmed and you might have to change your schedule, and you mentioned all the things you're doing. You're doing your business, you're being a supporting spouse, you're doing your daycare, you're adjusting your schedule as needed. So what do you see the problem as right now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm failing or anything, but I think, I just keep asking myself, can I do all of those things to the best of my ability and do them as well? Because a lot of people are relying on me, right? My staff is relying on me, my wife, my son, and I don't want to shortchange any of them. And I feel like, at least in this past week, I'm doing the best I can, but I also know that, I'm not perfect and I'm not necessarily objective about what I'm doing. And I just feel like that's a constant calibration I have to make, like, day by day, if not hour by hour. Like, am I best, meeting, all these needs, right? And even like being on this conference, which is like so important and so useful, but, I can feel like getting like pinged from my staff, like questions, I'm like wondering, how is my wife doing with my son downstairs? Does she need my help? And it's just really hard to lock in to one thing and not feel like I'm constantly multitasking 24/7.
So how do you answer that question that you ask yourself? Can I do all this?
I was the one who posted the Zen Buddhism comment too, because I have some familiarity with that. And you really only can do one thing at a time. And I'm kind of a believer in that multitasking is somewhat of a myth. And a lot of times when we are multitasking, we're really kind of doing a lot of nothing, right? So I feel like that's all I can do is just focus on the task at hand at any one time, but at the same time have this kind of hyper awareness that I might need to shift and take off my work hat and put on my parent hat or put on my spouse hat at a moment's notice, and then kind of have that kind of fluidity and kind of be okay with that, right? And be okay with if things go off schedule, or if I have to shift a meeting or not talk to someone on my staff right away, that's okay if I'm dealing with something else, or vice versa. So
Right. I think you already answered the question I was going to ask, which is what do you make it mean right now if you do get pulled away? Like if you had this scheduled and you get pulled away, or you thought you'd be doing this and you ended up having to do that. Like what do you make that mean? And why is that a problem?
Yeah, it's not necessarily, but we're just in a new world, right? And so in the old world, during my work hours, right, during regular business hours, then the expectation is that my number one priority is work, except for any kind of emergencies, and I'm like completely available during that time for any kind of work related issues. And that just can't be true right now, right? Because like everything is on at the same time. And so those and we're still kind of figuring this out, right? And do people expect that still of me, even though that's not necessarily realistic? And we're all kind of feeling our way. And look, I'm very lucky in that I have great bosses at the Alliance, and people who are really understanding and who are not going to have who understand all this. So I'm privileged from that perspective, but I guess I still feel a little bit, uneasy about it.
So what thought do you think is making you feel uneasy?
I think just feeling like, someone might be judging me for not prioritizing the right thing at the right time, right? Like maybe, my boss or someone else at work might be expecting at a certain time that, okay, I'm available to do this or working on this, but in reality, my wife needs a break and my son needs my time to help him. Or maybe, vice versa, that I'm spending time on work that I need to get done and trying to support my staff, but my wife is downstairs saying, I need you right now, why aren't you here? That kind of thing.
So you're having a lot of thoughts about showing up for other people and how other people might be judging you.
Yeah, and if I'm disappointing anyone.
So you're having a lot of thoughts about the possibility of disappointing people, and just we just want you to see that those are thoughts, right?
Right.
So I'm curious, has anyone actually said to you that you're not showing up for them the way they would like you to?
No, I think at times, my wife has been, I wouldn't say frustrated, but like wanting me to spend, some more time either helping her, helping my son, and then there's like just a little bit of a negotiation. Okay, can I take care of this, urgent work thing for the next 15 minutes and then do that, whatever. And she has also gone out of her way to say like I'm doing a great job and I'm trying to be responsive to her, and she appreciates that. So so it's not like anything is blown up in my face yet or anything like that. I think it's more just like internal.
Exactly. So that's what we're hearing you say, is that a lot of your thoughts are, you said you're worrying about people judging you, and it sounds like there's a lot of self-judgment going on. Is that
right? I think so. Yeah, I think that's accurate.
Yeah, and that just being aware that that's in your thinking, that's in what we call the T line, right?
Right.
So that's in your thinking. That's not C. There's no C around you not showing up and not doing what you want to be doing or what other people want. And it's really important for all of us to see that other people get to have whatever thoughts they want to have too. Like their thoughts don't have to be our thoughts. We don't have to believe our own thoughts, and we don't have to believe other people's thoughts. Like a big problem right now is people are looking to other people for what to think. And we've got to think our own thoughts, right? Not the news or whatever, right? So you're having a lot of thoughts that lead to this uneasiness that you talked about. And just seeing that, like it's so cool that you're seeing that. You're like, yeah, I realize it's all internal. In other words, it's happening up here, which is then creating the feelings, right? So what does it feel like to see that it's your thoughts creating your feelings?
Yeah, it's actually really helpful. It does help. Like I feel a little bit of distance from it now, whereas before I think there was a lot of self-identification. And so I feel like I'm creating like that 6 feet of social distancing space with it,
Right.
and that's
Emotional distancing, yes.
exactly. And that's a good feeling, and I appreciate it.
Yeah. And I loved the question, when you said the question I keep asking myself is if I'm doing all I can to the best of my ability. And the only one that gets to answer that is you.
Right.
It's
right. And also to have some kind of self-forgiveness built in, because it is a really tough situation, and we're all kind of in a trial and error mode, right? So none of us is going to navigate this perfectly, and we are going to have to kind of figure it out as we go. As my boss at the Alliance likes to say, we're building the plane while we're flying it, so that we're all in that position.
Right. That's an interesting thought, right? Since we were talking a couple minutes ago about thoughts to try on, and it's funny because everybody's sharing like these mantras, these things that they're thinking that are helping them, and they work for some people and not for others. So it sounds like you're saying this thought, we're building the plane while we're flying it, has been helpful to you.
Yeah. Just to know that that's the situation we're all in. It's a really challenging situation, and we're all kind of doing the best we can in that.
And that's a thought. That's just a thought. We're building the plane while we're flying it is just a thought that we can try on, that we can choose. And what is thinking that thought make you feel?
Yeah, it just gives me, like I said, like just a little more self-forgiveness. It's like, okay, like I don't have to do everything perfectly in every moment. Like all I can do is the best I can in a challenging situation, and then adjust as I go, right? And trial.
Yeah. That's the idea. And about Zen Buddhism, so you know all about that. It's all the same message, right? What do you think, Dr. Kwak?
Yeah, so I'd love to explore that that self-disappointment. I don't know if we have to explore it too much. We can if you want, but what if you just knew in advance and accepted people are going to be disappointed sometimes? Like we're all juggling all these hats. Like someone might tell me, "Hey, you let me down," and I feel disappointed. Like, and then what? What would you make that mean?
Yeah, I think to recognize that and affirm that, but at the same time, well, I guess to kind of try to look at it objectively is like, okay, I acknowledge that, but not to beat myself up. Is like, okay, is there something I could do differently next time, right? If faced with that same situation. And the answer might be yes, and the answer might be no, right? Maybe there was something I could have done differently, or maybe it was just a really challenging situation where it was impossible to please everyone, and I made a choice, and I might have to make that same choice again.
Yeah. Like, what do you think about the idea of going into this time of life, just welcoming the possibility of disappointing someone, just letting go of, because so often we do things out of a fear of disappointing someone, or don't do things out of a fear of disappointing someone. And what if we just embraced, okay, this is the time of my life where I'm just going to totally embrace it. Like, I'm going to rock this part of my life out, and I'm going to disappoint people, and that's okay, and I'll have my back no matter what. Like, what does that sound like to you, or feel like to you?
It feels really foreign to me. It feels like kind of like putting on like a coat that I would like never buy for myself in a million years. Like, okay, I'm going to go out into the world wearing this all day, you know? So I can see the wisdom in it, but it does not feel natural at all.
Got you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I can relate, Adam, and I'm not saying this is you, but I am a recovering people pleaser. So for me, the thought of accepting that other people aren't going to be happy with me, or that I might not be doing everything for everybody that they want from me, is super uncomfortable. It feels also like a coat I would never wear. And I'm working on that, because I'm putting myself out there in new ways that I never have before, which is almost a guarantee. Like we got some negative response to our posts about this workshop, for instance. So like those people aren't happy we're doing this, but we have to do it anyway because we want to help people. You know what I mean? So I'm just relating. I'm kind of stepping out of coach and more relating and saying, I totally get what you're saying. And I'm just curious about, you know, one of the thoughts we are trying to think about trying on for ourselves is like, there are going to be ways to grow through this, you know? So does any of that resonate for you as well?
Yeah, it does. Because I can also see how that fear of disappointing people, or potentially disappointing people, can lead to paralysis, right? The old paralysis by analysis. And I think especially during this time, it's just so easy to retreat inward, right? Because like we're literally cooped up in our homes. It's just very easy to go into that kind of shell, and feels almost natural. And you know, but I think it's also really important that not only that I don't do that, but also that collectively we don't do that as much as possible. So
Yeah. So Adam, I think that we could probably chat with you forever, because you're so, you know, open and self-aware, and it's so valuable for all of us. I think we have more volunteers, which is really exciting. But before that, I'd love to ask you, and I'm happy to chat after too, if you want to reach out to me and chat more. I so appreciate you coming on and being willing to do this publicly, because I know a lot of people can relate to what you're sharing, and it's going to help a lot of people. But we always like to kind of ask at the end, you know, what your takeaways are, what you want to take from putting yourself out there in this way and sharing publicly that might be helpful to you after this little mini session.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to encapsulate, but it's definitely helpful. And I think a lot of it is just, you know, articulating, you know, thoughts and feelings and struggles I'm having publicly, and just do it. Like that act in and of itself, I find helpful, because it's kind of like, you know, shining a light on it, and it's helping me to kind of look at it more objectively. And again, getting some distance and feeling like I have tools to either like maybe like, you know, change some of my thoughts, or like not indulge in this negative one, or, you know, use this more constructive one. And so like just the very act of sharing, both with, you know, both of you, and then potentially with others who might find it helpful, like that very act I find both empowering and helpful. So I really appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, we so appreciate you coming on. And that's a great takeaway. Just awareness, just being aware, this is what I'm thinking, and this is the feelings it's leading to, and it's all going on in my own mind. You know, there aren't really any C's here. It's so fascinating when we really look at everything that's going on, and everything that you shared. If you watch it back, there weren't really any facts or sees. And that's how it always is. That's same with us. If I were to go on and on about all the things that I'm struggling with, be like, can we find any facts in there? No, it's all just my thoughts and my feelings, which is so great to be aware of and to help us feel, just to help us feel aware, and then to think about what choices we might want to make, but not judge it, and I hear in you, and I really appreciate in you, that you recognize that self-judgment is not helpful, and telling yourself you're not doing it right or you're not doing enough. We really want to work to have so much self-compassion. And I love that you use the word distance, that we can distance ourselves from our thoughts and our feelings. They are not us. They are not truly us. They will pass. Any thought we're having, we don't have to have it forever. Anything we're experiencing, everything passes and recycles into something new. So I love that you talked about distance and about self-compassion and about, and just being aware of what your thoughts and feelings are creating. So that's a great takeaway. I love that. Anything you want to say before we let amazing Adam, who's so brave to come out and be here with all of us? Anything you want to say, Dr. Kwak?
No, I totally echo that. Thanks so much for sharing, Adam. And I'm right there with you too in the what Bridget said, the recovering people pleaser / avoiding disappointing people. Believe me. But it was great practice when I got the negative feedback when I posted I was doing this. So, and this might be a bit of a foreign coat right now too, but I'm just going to throw it out there to even invite little areas into your life where you might disappoint someone. Even on just a very, very small scale, just to practice feeling disappointed. Because ultimately, if we think we've disappointed someone else, we feel bad because we're thinking negative thoughts about ourselves. Like I disappointed them and I shouldn't have, or I did something wrong and I shouldn't have. And that's where the pain comes in. So even just to practice that on a small scale, just allowing for that emotion to be there and knowing I'm only feeling this because I'm having these thoughts, which it sounds like you're kind of grasping, like I'm feeling this bit of disappointment right now because I'm thinking I shouldn't have done that, or I'm wrong for having done that, and that's okay. And just I don't know, just having that awareness and practice, even on a baby small scale. I don't know.
Maybe I'll start with my cats and I'll go from there.
There you go.
Exactly.
That's a very
don't change the litter box for like a day too late or something, and they're going to be so mad.
Thank you so much, Adam. I'm going to go into the chat and see who's volunteering. Thank you so much, Adam. And I'm just going to randomly pick on somebody. Who would complain about humans assisting humans? Thank you for that. That's what we said. We're like, but you know what? The beautiful thing about the self-coaching model is everybody gets to have their models. Like they get to have their thoughts. If they want to have those thoughts, that's amazing for them. We don't have to take them on. The fact that there were people, both for Dr. Kwak and myself, who didn't like that we were doing this workshop, way to go. Have your thoughts about not liking it. We don't have to take that on. We don't have to make that mean anything about us, right?
Maybe that's a great place to even explore that a bit, because that's where, when I got the frowny faces when I posted this, that's where I wanted to try to understand, well, where might they be coming from? Like maybe they think we're scam artists trying to like sell this an expensive coaching program or something, which we're not. We're selling nothing. Like maybe, but who knows? Maybe they've had a bad experience with a life coach. Maybe they've had a bad experience with a communications expert or a family physician. Like, you just don't know. I don't know where they're coming from, but I like the idea of exploring where they might be coming from in a compassionate way, in a curious way, in a what else could be going on here, just because it's so natural as humans to like take it all so personally and let it just hit the ego so hard, and it just doesn't feel good. So anyway, what do you think, Bridget?
Yeah, totally agree. I was reading some chat. Forgive me. I was reading some chats while we were talking, but I totally agree with that. And I know, even though I didn't hear part of what you said, I know I agree with it 100%. Because, but I was reading something, and I think since no one's volunteering to be coached right now on screen, maybe we could do a little coaching on a concern that came in. Just talk it through as coaches, that someone wrote, and a lot of people are experiencing this, that we're in control of our own thoughts, feelings, and action. Or well, we're not always in control, but we're trying to be aware of our thoughts, feelings, and actions, right? And we can't control other people. So there were some concerns about what about, people are maybe divorced and are splitting custody, and like someone, my ex has the kid. This is not me. I'm not divorced. Love my husband, happily married. But but let's say I am divorced and my spouse has kids part of the time and they're not practicing the social distancing, right? So what can I do? And so it's really tough that we do have to say we can't control other people. We can make requests. We can draw boundaries and say, if this happens, then I will do this with what I can do where I have power. But it can be a situation that people are dealing with. We get to think about what we want to think about what other people are doing, and we can make requests and draw boundaries as well, but we don't get to control what other people are doing in this environment. So any thoughts about that?
Yeah, that's really been my takeaway from this whole concept of coaching is just taking our own power back where we can. You said we can't always control the thoughts that pop up, especially right now in this sort of environment of uncertainty. It's normal for the primitive brain to offer all sorts of fear-based thoughts, and it can't necessarily control or stop that in the moment, but where do we have control? Where can we take our power back? And it's how we respond to our emotions, how we respond to other people, how we let other people be who they are, and just manage our own response to it. And then eventually start deciding more deliberately how to think about things to start taming that primitive brain that's firing at us so much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and making requests is always an option. To say, hey, is it possible to not have gatherings and have people over when the kids are there? We just don't want to tie our emotional well-being to whatever that other person does and say, well, I'm going to be so upset and so angry. I mean, we may be, but we still have choice. We have some choice in the matter, as Dr. Kwak said, about how we respond, about what we think about that. And then sometimes, boundaries, highly recommend. I'm showing the Life Coach School podcast. There are 2 podcast episodes on boundaries and Boundaries 2.0, and they're amazing. And the key thing about a boundary is that it has to have a consequence, and you have to be willing to set the consequence, or to impose the consequence. We know this about our children, right? That you say, if you don't clean up your room, you won't be able to have a friend in your room, whatever it is. And then you have to be 100% willing to not let the friend come over and go in the room, whatever it may be, right? So we can do that with adults as well, if we have the power in, like she was saying, if we have the power in that situation. But then the other person gets to do whatever they're going to do anyway. And so we stay in where we have power, where we can make a request, where we can set a boundary, and we have what we want to think about it and what we want to make it mean. That's another question that Dr. Kwak used a lot, and I love, is what are you going to make that mean? Like, do we want to really make this mean that we failed, or that everything is horrible, or, to make something mean something it doesn't have to mean, right? Because that's just a thought. So Jerome, welcome, Jerome. Are you coming on for coaching?
Yeah, it's actually a coaching that it's kind of me and my world around me and people around me that I'm trying to help out.
Please.
So I figure you could jointly help me and figure some stuff out.
So good to see you. Thank you for
how you been?
Great.
Yeah.
I would love to connect more later, but tell us what you want to chat about.
So I am, I'm working with people. I'm a life coach too, but the main thing that people are struggling with, and I'm not necessarily struggling with it myself, but maybe I am, is the age aspects of this whole thing. So I have a friend who's a starter at the golf course, and I've been working with him for the last 3 days because he's freaking out because he's a senior citizen according to the new standards. And so he's mad at all the younger people because they're affecting his life, and that he has 2 people at home as his in-laws who are in their 80s. So he's voluntarily removed himself from work because he's afraid that they're at home and he can't isolate them and things like that. So I've been working with him, and I think what you guys did about facts was really good, because he has created some facts in his head that I can't get him out of. And he's stuck there. And yesterday, at least I was able to get him out onto his front lawn to swing golf clubs. And so, because he's really in this place of he's angry, and I had to really work with him. So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with the anger that's coming out of this in regards to people feeling a separation age-wise? I'm 67. I'm not feeling that, but I have a lot of friends who are feeling that they are, like he made a comment and said, nobody cares about seniors anymore. And I go, I don't feel that, but he does. So.
That's a great, yeah. So that's a great example of a thought, right? Nobody cares about seniors anymore. So he's choosing that thought. You're not choosing that thought, right? And you're served in your emotional well-being much better by not thinking that thought and not believing that thought. But he is thinking that thought, and so we have to embrace that and accept that and see where we can help him go with that, right? Which it sounds like is exactly what you're doing. So this is kind of meta, like we're coaching. We're all three of us are coaches, so we're all coaching on coaching, which we do a lot of as well.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So and we're all doing a lot of coaching. And by the way, a lot of people are getting coaching right now who've never had coaching or been open to coaching. So coaches, those of us who are coaches, are really trying to step up our coaching game and help each other coach. So what do you think, Dr. Kwak? Any thoughts?
Okay, so I do have thoughts because
Great.
for different reasons, anger has been my predominant emotion through this too. So just one thought in general about that response is I think we tend to be angry when we feel helpless and we feel like a victim in a situation. So it's almost like a compensatory reaction, I think, for really a more helpless fear based feeling. So there could be some maybe exploration to do with him regarding his fears if he's willing to go there. I think that's one option, because I imagine it would have something to do with fear around, dying with this his age group. Yeah. But I also like the idea of taking ownership of that emotion, because he wants to feel angry right now, and maybe that's okay. And maybe just sitting with that for a bit, like not trying to get rid of the anger or change any of it. Just, you know what, you clearly want to be angry. Let's figure out why. Like why how is this emotion serving you? What is it doing for you that you think is a benefit for you? And that, I think that can just help take ownership of it too, because I've found that it's very difficult for me to change something if I'm not owning it. And I don't think he's owning it, I think, and which is normal. He sees these things going on and he's thinking that they're making him angry, that like anger has to be the response here. When we know it doesn't have to be, or it can be one response, like, cause I still kind of want to be angry right now at some of the leaders and this whole thing. And I'm embracing that, but now as I'm owning it more, I'm realizing I don't want to just stay there. So then, maybe as he gets more acceptance and ownership of the anger, he can also start to create other emotions that do serve him better. Like, okay, you can stay angry. We're not going to try to fight that. I'm not going to try to make you not believe that people are out to get seniors. Like, we don't need to try to change your beliefs there right now, but I also don't want you, and I don't think you want to either, wither away in your life angry for however long this rides out. So how else would you like to experience this now? Maybe we can try to build something alongside the anger.
Yeah, that's great. One of the things that I did with him was I got him into what I call plus communication, which is basically that there's a tendency that we have when we're angry or upset or we're scared or whatever, to have, I'm either right and you're wrong, or you're wrong and I'm right, and I'm wrong, you're right. So, but the whole thing is we can go to plus, which is I'm okay, you're okay. Now I don't like what's going on, but I'm okay with you're okay with I don't like what's going on. So he had a brother-in-law who's a bus driver, and his brother-in-law would come home every night into the house with these seniors, really super senior citizens, and would go, I have the coronavirus, and he would get really upset and he's an idiot. And I go, no, he's afraid.
Mhm.
He's driving a bus in the city, and so that's how he's dealing with it. So you need to go to a plus plus and just say he's okay, you're okay, and just let him know you don't like that he's doing that, and you understand why, but you would prefer he did another thing, but don't make him wrong for it.
Right.
And yeah, so that was
That's brilliant.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that too. And one of the things I was thinking as you were talking is he's very angry at the young people. And again, it's okay that he's angry and he's making what they're doing mean, you know, and sometimes there are opportunities to coach people just for fun, just play with me, like take their side of you, take their side of it, take their point of view, like think about when you were young. Like I think about when I was young, I thought I was, you know, untouchable and immortal. And
Absolutely.
I probably would have been doing all those things and out there partying and going to the bars until the very last minute, until they closed, right? And doing all those things that everyone else was so angry at. You know, how can we, you know, we open up ourselves to see things from other people's perspective? And how did you feel when you were in that same place? And just, you know, sometimes we can help our clients just for fun, just indulge me, just play with me, and just tell me what, you know, you're now a 20-year-old, a 21-year-old. What are you thinking in this moment, in this day and age? You know, and it's same thing as you were saying with even that person. I kind of recoiled when you talked about the person coughing on people and joking about it. And I've heard lots of examples of that. But we also know that responding to anything by lashing out at someone and judging and criticizing them does not invite their receptivity to understanding our point of view. So how can we still, as much as we can, it's understandable totally to feel anger and negative feelings. So how can we challenge ourselves to still keep trying to understand and stay in a place of communication and conversation about the thinking behind the choices that people are making?
Yeah, one other piece I'll kind of in my whole piece here is with my son. My son's like 28, lives in Boston now, is finishing up his MBA. But so when this whole started, he started texting us every morning, "Are you guys okay? Are you okay?" And I was getting a little bit frustrated with it. I almost texted him back, "Well, if we're dying, I'll let you know, but we're okay." But then I realized that he had a need, that I just needed to answer his question. Yes, we're okay. And so I think one of the really important things about this process that we're going through is to recognize that people have needs, and that if we can meet their needs, it helps them relax. It helps them not be stressed. So the whole thing that was his morning ritual that he does every morning. So around 7:30, I get this text, and I just answer the question, "Yes, we're okay. Mom's okay. I'm okay. We're good. I went shopping this morning. We get this senior citizen advantage, you know, where we go an hour. So we're good." And then he goes, "Great." And it's his need. It's not my need. It's his need.
Exactly. It's that moment of reflection when we go from the knee-jerk reaction to, well, how do I really want to respond? How do you know what will this provide for me and for the other person?
Exactly.
So Jerome, I want to ask you what you're taking from all this. And it's a funny question to ask because you are so much more experienced, and you were, I think at one point, my boss's boss's boss in student activities at Cal State Northridge when I was a student. So I look to you as such a wise teacher and mentor in my life. But I'm still curious if this conversation, you know, as we start to, move into closing this whole experience, you know, did it bring light to anything new or bring anything that you could use as a coach yourself?
Oh, it's been amazing. I had to make a decision between, this is really true, listening to you, doing you live, or listening to Tony Robbins today. And I chose you, Bridget. I chose you, Bridget. Now, I'm going to be very transparent. I can listen to Tony later because it's recorded. But I knew you were recording yours, but I said Bridget was such a superstar when she was in student affairs and working with us and with Tom. I said, I have to listen to her live. And I just thought so that was one reason. The other reason was simply the fact that I am starting to use this platform in my business because my business has been shut down. Gail was supposed to be in Dallas this week. We had some new business that was supposed to start at the end of the month. So now I've been preparing for this, and now I've had to ratchet up. And really, so I said, well, let me see what people are doing. So part of it wasn't all totally altruistic. I wanted to see what it is. I know what Tony does. He's got millions of dollars to do the best ever. So I
Yep.
said, what people like me are doing and how they're doing it. And I also thought the topic was great. And so, and I just
Wow.
had to support you, Bridget. You know,
Thank you.
you were a superstar at, you were that part of that superstar team that did emerging leaders and orientation and that whole thing.
Wow, that was amazing. I swear everybody, I did not pay him to say that. But thank you. And I can't tell you how happy it makes me to see you and to hear that. And thank you so much for the praise. And also it's an important message in all of us being called to step up our game in the technology realm. And so, yeah, using this platform, I have not used it for this large of a group or in this type of a setting and co-hosting and trying to pull everybody on and figure out how to manage all of that. But it was kind of, we're going to throw ourselves out there. It's the wild, wild west, and we're going to do our best and try to create something that will be helpful to people. So all of you who are still out there, let's look at this as an opportunity and a blessing that we have all of this technology available to us, as Jerome just said, but we got to start figuring out how to use it. And I know I had a lot of thoughts around, I can't figure this stuff out. I'm not going to be able to do a big Zoom session. I don't know how to do this way. And I'm working really hard to, I still have some of those thoughts, but to really embrace new thoughts. I can figure this out. Marie Forleo, as it says, everything is figure outable, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm choosing that thought a lot these days.
And Dr. Kwak, I just want to really commend you on your compassionate conversation that you had about an hour ago, just about humans being human and our resiliency and our ability to overcome and what we're going to learn and the legacy that we're going to leave. And honestly, that's what I've been thinking. I said, well, if I was to get this thing and go, I want to leave a legacy where I can say, well, Jerome was really doing some stuff before he left, and I just really thought that that whole segment, that 10 minutes that you were talking was just gold and just really beautiful. So thank you. And Gail has always reminded me that I don't have to yell when I'm talking to people. So now I'm trying to adjust that.
And Gail is Jerome's wife, who is also an amazing, well-loved and respected coach. So we're all in this amazing, beautiful community of coaches who are trying to help do everything we can to help people right now. So yeah, thank you so much.
Great
Jerome.
job, guys.
We're going to honor people's time and toward wrapping up. But thank you so much for being here, Jerome. And thank you everyone for being here. I'm so glad we got a couple coaching sessions in. We got through all our content. Thank you. Just saying thank you. People saying they would love to network. They would love to volunteer. A lot of us are trying to create groups. And again, I'll say on Facebook, if you're not friends with me, I'm happy to be friends with anybody. And I started a group today called Pandemic Positivity, where only positive posts are allowed. That's not to say that we have to only be positive, but it is one place where we're going to keep positive for when people need that positive boost. So hopefully, thank you for all the thank yous. We so appreciate those. We hope this was of value to you. We are going to, as quickly as we can, edit the recording and make it available to you and anyone that you would like to share it with. It will live on my business YouTube page, my Sampson Coaching and Consulting YouTube page. So if you just go there, hopefully in a couple of days, a few days, maybe sooner, we'll see how quickly we can do it. It will be there and ready to share, and I'll be sharing it on all my platforms, and I'm sure Dr. Kwak will as well. And we encourage you to please share that widely. So just kidding, I'm going in there seeing thank yous. I thank you for all the thank yous. We thank you so much for being here. We're still got 23 people here. Thank you for hanging in till the very last minute. We love you. We send you so much love. Please be compassionate with yourself. Please don't judge yourself. Please be kind and just do the best you can. That's all that any of us can do. And whatever's happening is what's meant to happen. It's what is happening. So let's embrace it. Let's grow. Let's help each other. And if you want to hunker down and lay in bed all day, go for it. And if you want to be of service with us, because we're doing that some of the time too, and then some of the time we're trying to be of service, let us know, and we'll try to keep the resources coming, keep the conversations going, and we embrace new ideas for ways to do that from all of you. And I just say thank you. That's my final word. I will turn it over to my co-facilitator for any final words.
No, you said it all, Bridget. Thank you all so much for coming, and we got this, guys. Seriously, we got this.
We got this. We're in it together. We're gonna do this. We're gonna make it. Thank you. Much love to you. So much gratitude for being here.